and the fact that they are mechudashim, that they are new. All creations are in a manner of yesh, that comes from an ayin, is something that comes out of nothing. Really, the Rebbe says, Zeu rak be'argashatan levad. This is the way we experience our existence. Is it true that our existence is like this? Yesh me'ayin? No. We are in the source all the time. But the way we experience our reality is in the manner of a yesh, separate from its source. Good morning. Today is Chaf Vav Adar Rishon. Chaf Vav is Shem Hashem, so it should be a special day for everyone. And the limud should be the schus, the soldiers that are protecting the Holy Land and the holy people. And all those that are in captivity should be brought home immediately.
Amen.
Bezrat Hashem, should be Geula Mitzvah Shleima. We are holding in the Maimar from Shabbos Parshas Shmois, Vayelech ish mi beis Levi vayikach es bas Levi, and we are on page Kuf Pei Daled, the second on top, the second line, and the old edition is Kuf Lamed Tes, just at the beginning of Kuf Lamed Tes. We're talking about refining the Nefesh HaBahamis, and which is done through Eish Shelemata and Eish Shelemala. The Eish Shelemata is this Bodinus in Psuke de Zimra, the presence of Hashem in the world. What is the Eish Shelemala? That Shayach, particularly to the Nefesh HaBahamis. The Eish Shelemala is the bitul, the isbonenus on the bitul of the malachim. How they are being inflamed with a fire of a passion and a desire to be subsumed and included in Or Havaye that flows upon them. And through this isbonenus, this will illuminate and activate the Koach HaMis'ave of Nefesh HaBahamis, which Nefesh HaBahamis is mainly made out of a desiring power, and this desiring power actually is taken from these Malachim, that's the spiritual source, and that can awaken the heart of the Nefesh HaBahamis to be inspired to detach itself from the Tanugim of Olam Hazeh Agashmi, or Tanugim Agashmi that usually the Nefesh HaBahamis is immersed in, and to be drawn to its spiritual source and to be included in Or Havai. And therefore, Anshe HaKnesset HaGdolah established the brachos of Kriya Shema two before, that there is described the avodah of malachim, the way they are subdued to Hashem and battled to Hashem. And this is done because, for the sake of the Nefesh HaBahamis, that is taken spiritually from the chayos of the Merkava. And therefore the reflection or the contemplation on the shvachim of the malachim, the way they are reacting when they realize their relationship with their creator, since the Nefesh HaBahamis originates in them, that will also inspire the Or Ha'ava of the Nefesh HaBahamis as well, that it should be now aroused with a love for the divine. And this is the Eish Shelemala that applies to the Nefesh HaBahamis specifically. Now the Rebbe began a deep discussion, relatively, about really what is this Ispilus of the Malachim that creates this fire of being just like fire wants to be drawn and lose itself in its source, so too the Malachim. What kind of hisbonenut and realization makes them so nispal, so reactive as flames of bitul in godliness? So the Rebbe says two things. They are contemplating on Mekor Chotzbam, on the source from where they are coming. So number one, they are mitboinen on the fact that their whole existence comes only from Ha'ara, from Malchus, which only from Ha'ara, from Malchus, and only from Ha'ara, from godliness. Which means that even Malchus, Etzema Malchus, which means Malchus itself, remains remote. Nisgav Shmo Levado. Malchus, which is called the shame of Hashem, even Malchus is Nisgav, is exalted. So they are contemplating on the fact that Malchus is their source, and their source is exalted. That's number one. Number two, they are reflecting on Be'ofen Habusam. How, on page Kuf Begimel, the end of the small paragraph, Be'ofen Habusam. They are also reflecting on how they are coming to existence in a manner of Yesh Me'ayin, and similar to the behavior of or, of light, as a mashal, as a metaphor. And here we begin a discussion that is a deep discussion. And deep, I mean, you just have to follow carefully and maybe read a few times. But that eventually, this is the meditation that causes the spirals of the Malachim. What are they contemplating? How I'm now reviewing on page Kuf Gimel, the main paragraph. And the Rebbe explains that really the coming to existence of the worlds and all creations is not like a pe'ula gashmis. It's not like when someone creates a keli, creates an object, creates a vessel. Shehu yesh meyesh, which is, he basically, what he does, he takes something that exists, he takes a certain material, whether it is clay or metal or glass or whatever it is, and he changes its form. This is the way we are doing things, we are making things. So, even though the koyach to create, the creative power at the time that the person is making the keli is really invested in the making of the keli, nevertheless, the outcome, the keli that is created, is separate from the person after the person created it. And the keli doesn't need the creative power anymore. Once the person finished, let's say he had a piece of clay and he finished making the keli, the vessel doesn't need the person anymore to exist. Why is it? Because the person really didn't create the clay. The clay was there before. He just changed the form of the clay and created the vessel. But the clay was there before. And therefore, mitchila, to begin with, the keli, the vessel, was a yesh gamor, was a complete yesh, was a piece of clay. Not only that, the Rebbe says, not only that now the keli is separate and independently existing, which means the keli is existing independently of its maker. Not only that, but nothing is left in the power, in the creative power of the person who made it. Nothing of the keli is left. not the keli, not the benefit from the keli, the toeles. So the Rebbe says that from this we see that actually making the keli shows and indicates the lack of perfection, the lack of shlemus in the maker, in the power that creates. Because in a way, without the keli, the power of creating wouldn't be completed. And if the keli fulfills a purpose, then without that keli fulfilling its purpose, the power of creating would not be fulfilled either. So we see that the keli adds shlemus in the creating power, in the maker. But bottom line, so what we see, one really depends on the other and affects the other. The keli depends on the maker depends on the keli for each shlemus, and so on. But after the keli is made from koach hapoal, from the creative power, then the keli exists independently. Now this is regarding koach hapoal, the power to make something, to create something. This is not the case regarding the behavior of light. Light never, the rays of the sun never have an independent existence. And so too is the relation between creations and their maker, and Hashem, as a creator. We are like Or. Even though Hashem creates us and makes us, but we are like Or in our dependence on our source. So this is not the case, that says the Rebbe, after the metaphor of creating a keli, this is not the case in the case of Hisavu Ziv HaShemesh me'ashemesh, when the rays of the sun are created by the sun. It's not like when a person creates a keli. How so? Because the rays of the sun did not exist before as rays. They are something new. Once they leave the sun, now they are rays. They are something new. And these rays are going to reach us and we will see light. So before the rays came out of the sun, they did not have any independent existence. Unlike the keli that a person made, even before he made the keli had an independent existence as a piece of clay. But the rays of the sun, before they came out of the sun, they did not have an independent existence at all. And therefore, even after the light comes out from the luminary, it always needs the luminary to exist. So the rays, even after they come, when they come out of the sun, they always need the sun to exist, and they can never be separate from the sun. So that's one thing to understand about our existence, that our dependence on our Creator is not like a keli that has its own independence. We feel like a yesh, like a keli, but our existence is not independent, it's like light. More than that, the Rebbe says. So number one, we understand, the Rebbe just gives now the metaphor. He will talk about the nimshal soon. but we can understand already the nimshal. We're going between the mashal and the nimshal. Or HaShemesh is just the nimshal, a mashal to Or Ein Sof. Or Ein Sof has nothing to do with Or HaShemesh. Or HaShemesh, the light of the sun, is physical. Or Ein Sof is divine, is spiritual, is not, is even spiritual is questionable description. In any case, one thing we understand is how much our existence is depending on our source, like light depends on the sun to exist, like the rays of the sun depend on the sun to exist. Number one. Number two, the Rebbe says, ועוד זאת, that the light, the rays, the sunshine really exists also within the sun. And if the sunlight reaches far, that means for sure that in the sun, it is coming from the sun, so in the sun, it is for sure there. And not only that, in the sun is the most powerful and the most intense. But in the sun is not considered a ray or a radiance or a light. In the sun is part of the sun itself. And is completely battled b'metzius to the source. So we find that all this is the opposite to the creative power of person who makes a certain keli. Why? Because there, when a person is making a keli, the pe'ula, the action is not innovation, not a real chidush, nothing is really new. And it's complete, that's one thing. It was there before, like the clay was there before. Or if you're making a silver tray, the metal was there before. You're just changing the form. And therefore, it's not a real ischachus. And also, it's completely separate from the person who makes it. So once a person made a silver tray from a piece of silver, the silver tray doesn't need the person to exist. And doesn't exist in the person anymore. And that means that the koach ha'adam that Rebbe says that made it is now chaser shlemus, is missing completion, perfection, because now the koach of the person, the potential, is depending on the actual. It's only complete when it's actualized. But, and this is all because really there is no ischachus, there's nothing new in the making of something yesh miyesh, and therefore its existence is independent. This is not so in the Ziv HaShemesh, last line on page Kuf Pei Gimel. This is ischachus that wasn't there before, in terms of a radiance, in terms of a rays of the sun. And the Rebbe says in parentheses that even though Taka is not completely something new, because next page Kuf Pei Daled, the light of the sun was in the sun also before it came out. So legabe HaShemesh, vis-a-vis the sun, is really not at ischachus when the rays came out of the sun. But legabe HaOlam, regarding the world, it is ischachus. It's a big difference. It makes a difference. And that's one thing. So the or versus the koach hapoal banifal is ischachus, and the koach hapoal banifal is not ischachus. And the or, on the other hand, is completely depending on its source, and the kli is not depending on its maker. And now the Rebbe adds something which we're not going to go into this for another time, when we really discuss the nature of or at length. Right now we are discussing or is a mashal specifically to understand the dependence of creations in the creator, on the source. But the Rebbe also adds to it and says in the parenthesis, as a side comment, והנה now מה שאי אפשר להיות הזיו בלעדי השמש. So when we perceive ourselves as the ziv, as the rays of the sun, and seeing the fact that the ziv of the sun, the rays of the sun, cannot exist without the sun itself. Obviously, this is as much, at least as a mashal, as much as we are depending on our source. The Rebbe says, Ein ze mitzad ischatshus levad. It's not only because the rays of the sun are something new. It's not only because of that. Ki im mitzad shu or hadavuk bimkoro. Because also of the nature of light. Light has the nature to be davuk, to be glued to its source. Kayadua mevu'ar b'makom acher. So it's also, light has another nature to it, that to be davuk, to be glued to its source. Omnam, however, b'nivraim, in the nivraim, in the creations, באמת מה שאי אפשר שיהיו בלעדי מקורם, the truth, that which it's not possible for the nivraim, any creation, to exist without their source even one moment, העיקר הוא מצד הישחטשוס כידוע. The main thing in the mashal of or is another issue to it, another inyan to it, that is davek b'maor, it is cleaving to its source. But regarding the nivraim, the main reason why they cannot exist without their source is because they are something new that did not exist before, yesh me'ayin. And therefore, if it's yesh me'ayin, the yesh, if it didn't exist there before, it constantly needs its creator and the creative power to bring it into existence. והישחטשוס היא הסיבה שמוכרחים להיות דבוקים במקורם להישחדש תמיד. The fact that we are new, we are a ישחטשוס, the creations are an innovation, which means yesh me'ayin, something new that did not exist before. That is the reason why they have to be constantly attached to their source. They cannot exist independently of their source. אלא, only, שיש חילוק באופן הדבקוס. There is a difference in the manner of dvekus. It's not for now, but there is a difference between or ma'or lenivra u'boreh. It's a big difference between the way or is relating to its source, and a nivra, a creation, is relating to its source. One is a conscious dependence, and the other one is yesh mi'ayin, and the relation is super conscious, and so on and so forth. כמו שכתוב בדיבור המסל תיקור רס"ד. I almost was tempted to go into another footnote, but I decided to have רחמנוס on us and skip that and move on. והיינו, הן מצד החיוס והן בגוף הנברא. There are two inyanim here that require dependency on the source. One is the chayus of every creation. This chayus itself has to be renewed all the time. This vitality, this energy has to be renewed all the time. And the gufa nivra, and also the matter of the nivra itself also has to be renewed all the time. שאין שלמוס להזיב בלי המאור. The ziv, the ray, does not have any shlemus without the source. וגם לאחר שנמשך, and even after it's extended out of the sun, נמצא מהוסו בהמאור. The mahus of the sun, the rays, they really are, is really present in the ma'or, in the luminary. So really what the sunlight is made of, what the rays of the sun are made of, is really found in the ma'or, in the sun itself. V'adoba, and even more so, Be'yeser says, more powerfully. If you really want to know what are these rays, what really are they made of, go to the sun itself. There you see authentically what the rays are. If you see them for miles and miles and miles and millions of miles away, you don't see authentically what they are. You see them compromised already. But if you want to see the rays the way they are really authentically, go to the sun. They are coming from there. And there they are in the most powerful form. הרי השלימוס בהמאור תמיד. So from what do you conclude from this? That in terms of כוח הפועל בנפעל, there is no shleimus in the ma'or, in the source. We see that the shleimus is when the creation is created, then it adds shleimus to the כוח הפועל. When the kli is made, now it creates shleimus. Regarding the radiance of the sun or the light of the sun, it doesn't create any shleimus in the sun. In fact, if you want to meet the rays of the sun in their shleimus way, in their perfect way, you can only do it in the sun, find it in the sun itself. So what will you get from that? That the source is always perfect, is always shalem, regarding or and ma'or. לבד משהו בבחינס מאור, יש בו השלימוס שמצד הזיו גם כן. In addition to the fact that the sun itself has the perfection of being a luminary, a source of light rather than a light, so in that sense, its shleimus is greater than the shleimus of the light. In addition to that, it also has the shleimus of the light. So the sun is perfect to be perfect. Why? Because it has the perfection of a luminary, the source of the light. And it also has the light perfect in it. Because the only place where you can find the light in its perfect form is in the ma'or itself, in the sun itself. So it has the total shleimus there. But, which means even the shleimus of the ziv, you can find in the sun. But, אלא שבטל שמה במציאות לגמרי. That in the sun, the light, even though it's there, it's completely annulled, completely insignificant and battle to the sun itself. It's not separate, doesn't exist as a separate metzius there. But let's look at the nimshal of our mashal to understand the relation between creations and their creator, how much depending we are and how we are actually not the power that creates us and animates us is also at its shleimus in the source. והנמשל מזה יובן למעלה, שהנבראים הם בבחינת ישחטשוס. So let's look at the nimshal. The nivraim are hischatshus. They are in the principle of something new. They are all a new creation. Uksiv, because it's yesh me'ayin, so new. It wasn't there before. Uksiv, ki mimcha hakol. And there is a pasuk in Divrei Hayamim that from you everything is. She'ishavus hayesh hu me'ayin hamuchlat mamash. That the ishavus, the creation of the yesh, is from the absolute ayin. Alken, therefore, since whatever is comes from the absolute nothingness, so everything comes from the absolute nothingness, על כן הם צריכים תמיד אל מקורם להישבוס מאין. Therefore, all the Nivraim, that are something that comes out of nothingness, and therefore they are completely new, therefore they completely are depending and need their source constantly for their existence יש מאין. כמו הזיו שצריך כל רגע אל המאור כולו. And that resembles the sunlight, the rays of the sun, the sunlight that needs the ma'or, the luminary, the sun, all the time, every moment, in order to exist. ועוד זאת, and more than that, שגם חיוסם וקיומם השופע בסוחם, like we said before, ומהווה אותם מאין ליש, even the chayus, even the energy that brings all creations to existence and animates them all the time, gives them life. Even that energy that brings them into existence all the time was also included in the source. ונמצא שם ביתר שאת. And the koach of the power to create and animate is in the source of the creator, even much stronger than in the נבראים. כמו הסקללוס הזיו במאור השמש. Just as the sunlight is included in the sun itself. There it is much stronger. וזהו כי עמך מקור חיים. As it says in Tehillim Lamed Pasuk Yud, כי עמך מקור חיים. The מקור חיים, the source of life, the source that creates us and animates us, is imcha, is with you, is battled to you, is included in you. So not only we are included, our source is also battled to the source and is in the source. פירוש, what does it mean? המקור חיים שמסלבש בכל הנמצאים לאבוסם ולחיוסם, the source of life that is invested in all the creations to create them and to animate them, ישנה עמך, is with you, Hashem, all the time, דהיינו בגוף המאור, in the מאור, in the luminary itself. ומה שהנבראים עצמם מחודשים, and therefore this that the nivraim themselves are new, are something innovated, so to speak, ein ze mosif shleimus chas v'shalom. It doesn't add any shleimus in the source. Ha'alef, the first reason is שבאמש, as Fegi said, הרי הם גם כן רק הערה לבד. All the nivraim are only הערה from the source. And therefore, they don't make a difference to the source. They don't add shleimus, like the light of the sun doesn't add shleimus to the sun. כמו שכתוב בספר של בינונים חלק בייס פרק ג' ומה שהם מחודשים בבחינת יש, and the fact that they are מחודשים, that they are new, all creations are in a manner of yesh, that comes from an ayin, that a something that comes out of nothing. Really, the Rebbe says, זהו רק בהרגשתן לבד. This is the way we experience our existence. Is it true that our existence is like this? Yesh me'ayin? No. We are in the source all the time. But the way we experience our reality is in the manner of a yesh, separate from its source. וכמו שנסבאר לאל בזיו השמש, as we explained before, regarding the rays of the sun, שהוא ישחטשוס רק לגבי העולם. Only vis-a-vis the world, the rays of the sun are new. For the sun, they are not new. They were there before. Where else are they coming from? So the rays of the sun are becoming a metzius, something new. When only to us. Oh, this is not the sun anymore. These are the rays of the sun. They have their own metzius. To whom? To us. To the sun is nothing new. כמו כן הוא בנבראים, so too in creations, שהן בבחינס ישחטשוס, רק בהרגשתם במציאוס בעולם. They are in a manner of ישחטשוס, יש מאין, only the way we feel, in the way we feel, the way we exist in the world. That's one reason. והבא שבאמס, so we are like הערה, and ha'ara looks something new, but it's really to the ma'or, it's nothing new, right? והבא שבאמס, גם במקורם באין סוף ברוך הוא, יש מציאוסם. And the truth is that the world, that's the truth between you and me, says the Rebbe. The truth is that the world, even in their source in Ein Sof, in the infinite, not only in the creative power of Hashem, but in the infinite. Yesh metziusam. They exist. What are they? For those who learn Shara Yichud, v'aynu ha'eser sfiros agnuzos be'atzmus. The way the 10 spheros are hidden in Atzmus. And really, we have the way the 10 spheros are hidden in Atzmus after the Tzimtzum, we have the way the 10 spheros are hidden in Atzmus before the Tzimtzum. In any case, here we're talking about the Pardes, כמו שביאר הפרדס, שהן שורשי הכלים. That the spheros, the way they are hidden, yet in Or Ein Sof, are the roots, the shoresh of Kelim in Or Ein Sof. ושיער בעצמו בכוח חולו. And as we learn, when we learn chapter Yud Aleph, we learn how Hashem estimated in himself potentially what he is going to actualize after the Tzimtzum. How is it called? Can you tell me? How is it called? Where Hashem shi'er be'atzmo bekoach, he estimated and assessed in himself potentially what he is going to create after the Tzimtzum? Kadmon. Yachid, Echad, and Kadmon. Kadmon shi'er be'atzmo. וכל זה בבחינת הזיו הכלול בעצמוסו יתברך. All this regarding the ziv, the way the sunlight, or in this case, the light of Or Ein Sof is included, the ziv, which means the ray from Or Ein Sof, is included in God himself. ואם היות שאין זה בבחינת מציאות כמו שאין בסגלוס אחר כך, and even though the way the 10 spheres are included in Or Ein Sof, it's not the way they are b'isgalus when they are revealed, as we learn in Shara Yichud, they're completely like the kochos ha-nefesh. The way they are in the nefesh, they are totally higher and greater than the way kochos ha-nefesh are misgala in the goof, in the different organs in the body. There's no comparison. And there's no comparison between the revealed spheros and the way the spheros are gnuzot, concealed in Or Ein Sof. No comparison between them. היינו שבמקורן הם בבחינת ביטול במציאות לגמרי. Because when the spheros are in their source, they are completely non-existent as a separate existence. אבל מכל מקום ישנם בהשערה חולו. Nevertheless, they are there in a manner of a plan, in a manner of an assessment, an estimate, an assessment, how do you say לשער? A vision. אם כן, הרי אינו חסר חס ושלום השלימוס הזוס גם כן חולו. That means that Or Ein Sof, the source, doesn't even miss this shleimus of the spheros as the building blocks of anything that will be created. וכמו שנסבהר לאל בהתחלת הדרוש, שלמעלה כוח אינו חסר פועל. As we learn in the beginning of Samech Vov, that למעלה, before the tzimtzum, אין כוח חסר פועל. למטה, we don't know what it means. We are למטה, we are under the tzimtzum. And under the tzimtzum, koyach is chaser poal. The potential misses the actual, and the actual completes the potential. As we discussed regarding making a keli, that the keli completes the power to make a keli. It brings the shlemus, and if a keli has a purpose and completes its purpose, it adds something to the power to make kelim didn't have. Adds to its shlemus. This is not the case in the source in terms of Or Ein Sof. Because there, as we learned, and before the Tzimtzum, Lemaila, and Koyach Eino Chaser Poal. The potential doesn't miss the actual Lemaila. The potential and the actual are one Lemaila. So in what way Lemaila is different than Lemata? Or in what way Lemata is different than Lemaila? In the sense that Lemata has all its limitations, and as a Nivra. And Lemaila, nothing of the limitations and the boundaries and the chesroinus of a Nivraim, of creations, nothing is there. All the milas of the Nivraim are there. So Lemaila en koyach chaser poal. Lemaila potential doesn't miss the actual. Potential goes and actual go together. And therefore, in that relationship, or in a manner of awe between us and our source, we don't create any change in the source. And we don't add don't add any shleimus in the source. And we complete and don't make any difference to the source, and completely insignificant to the source, and completely incomparable to the source. That's on one hand. So completely non-intimate relationship, completely incomparable. On the other hand, so intimate that the Or needs the Ma'or all the time. We can't exist for a moment without our source. Even though we are infinitely incomparable, or the source is infinitely incomparable to us. Yet we are totally needing him or it every moment and every second. והגם דלכאורה אם כן איך נקראת הבריאה יש מאין, מאחר שהחיוס שבהם וגם הנמצא עם עצמם כלול תחילה וגם עכשיו במאור, ואם כן מהו הישחטשוס? Now the Rebbe comes to upslog himself, what he said. So it's like, okay, you have a question now. So how do we call the Bria Yesh Me'ayin? If you say that Lemala en Koach Chaser Poal, that Lemala the potential doesn't miss the actual, then it means that all creation is not Yesh Me'ayin. It was there before. Nothing is a Chidush. So how can you call it Yesh Me'ayin? Similar to a little bit to touching Leah's question. מאחר שהחיוס שבהם וגם הנמצאים עצמם כלול תחילה וגם עכשיו במאור. Because you're saying that the chayus in the creations and the creations themselves, their bodies, whatever, the matter, was in kalul tchila initially, as Tzipi explained to us, in the Maor, and gam achshav, even now, it's included in the source. So if this is the case, Mawa is chadshus. What's new if this is the case? Yesh me'ayin, you say it's new. All the creations are new. So what's the newness here? דהרי מה שהיה הוא שנהיה חולו. As it says in קהלת, פרק א', פסוק ט', מה שהיה הוא שנהיה. I'm on top of קפ"ה. What was, that what will be. That's what became. So what became is only what was. Nothing new. So why you say it's new? Creation is you, is Pachus, and that's why it needs the source. So decide, is it new, it's not new. העניין הוא, the idea is as follows. דמה שאנו אומרים שישהבוס הנבראים ממנו יסברך הוא כמשל המשחס הזיו מהשמש. That's what we say. That the creation of, that is Havus, the coming to existence of creations from him, Yisbarach, is like the Hamshacha of the rays of the sun out of the sun. זהו לומר שביטול הנבראים אצלו יתברך הוא כביטול זיו השמש לגבי השמש. So this that we say, that the existence of the Nivraim is like the existence of the rays of the sun, it comes, why Kabbalah says that, why Chassidus says that? Because to tell us that the bittul of the Nivraim to Hashem is like the bittul of the Ziv HaShemesh in comparison to the Shemesh. And explains, not in comparison, to the Shemesh. And he explains why our existence is similar to the existence of the rays of the sun in terms of our bittul to our source, the bittul of the rays to their source. Why is this metaphor? Why? משום שלא היה סיבה אחרת לזה היש זולתו יתברך. כמו שאין לזיו השמש סיבה אחרת כלל זולת השמש. What is the Rebbe is going to say here? The Rebbe is going to say like this, before we read inside. When it comes to the making of the kli, the clay vessel that we mentioned before, the kli, the cause of the kli is not only the creative power of the how do you call the one that makes clay vessels? Of the craftsman. It's the cause of the kli. It's not only the creative power of the craftsman. The cause of the kli is the matter of the kli. That it's, let's say, if it is a tray, it is the metal matter that existed before the kli was made. That's the cause, that's the siba, that's the main siba, the cause for the kli. Or if it's a clay vessel, the main cause for the kli, that's what made it possible to exist, is the piece of clay before the craftsman made a keli out of it. In case of the light, it's not the same. In case of the light, the only cause of the ray is the sun, nothing else. Nothing else, it's not made of anything else but the sun. It's only siba, it's only reason, it's only cause. Unlike the keli. The keli, its cause, its source, it has another cause. It has the metal or the clay or the glass, whatever it's made of. So that's what he's saying here. And so too our creation, us as creations, there is no other cause than the creative power of Hashem. This our source. So that's what the Rebbe is saying here now. That זהו לומר שביטול הנבראים אצלו, that the ביטול of the נבראים to Hashem is like the ביטול of זיו השמש to the sun, to the shemesh. like the bittul of the rays of the sun to the sun. How so? דהיינו משום שלא היה סיבה אחרת לזה היש זולתו יתברך. Which means that any yesh that exists, any creation, has no other cause and reason but God. Nothing else made us but God. כמו שאין לזיו השמש סיבה אחרת כלל זולת השמש. Like the rays of the sun have no other cause but the sun itself. להפוקי מפעולת האדם איזה כלי. To exclude, this is not like this, when a person makes a kli, a vessel. שכלי זו יש לה סיבה אחרת עיקריס זולת האדם. That this clay vessel is a cause and a main cause even. Besides the person who made it. והיא, and this is, המתכס או העץ או האפר שממנה עשה הכלי כולו. The metal or the wood or the earth from which the vessel was made. ולכן אין הכלי בטלה כלל אל האדם. And therefore the kli is not at all battle, is not annulled and nullified to the person. שהיא מציאוס דבר לעצמה. And we see that the clay vessel or any vessel is a mitzius of itself. It has an independent existence. Doesn't need the person after it's made. ואינה צריכה כלל אל האדם. And after it's made, doesn't need the person at all. However, והנברא, להיות שאין לו סיבה אחרת זולתו יתברך. Creation, being that the nivra has no other cause but him יתברך. Blessed be him. הרי הוא בטל לאלוקות. Is completely nullified to godliness. שאינו דבר לעצמו. And it doesn't have any independent existence. כי אם על ידי המקור דווקא. And its only existence of a nivra, of a created being, is its source. והוא צריך למקורו תמיד חולו. And it needs its source all the time. ואין מה שכתוב מזה בדיבור המסחר בכל העם רואים ריש סמך ה'. We are learning ריש סמך ו'. A year before ריש סמך ה', the Rebbe speaks how we are yesh me'ayin in a sense that we are completely needing our source all the time. And the Rebbe says, b'chol ha'madregos. If you look at Samech Vov, maybe I have a machshava, maybe to learn it together, but I want to keep the flow of the thought here. We're going to stop here. But b'chol ha'madregos, in all the madregos, explains the Rebbe Rashab in Samech Vov, even Ratzon and Sechel, which are highest madregos, everything needs its source all the time. The etz, just in order for Ratzon to be created, the nefesh has to create it all the time. It needs the nefesh as a source all the time. And the seichel needs the nefesh all the time in order to exist. And all the other koichos. So we see the total dependency of creation on its source, unlike a kli that is made yesh mi yesh. And the reason why, because we are there's no other reason to the existence of the yesh other than Hashem.
So, Chana, are we saying, in other words, that we're not original, but we're dependable? That's what the yesh me'ayin means.
Which means the Rebbe is showing these two extremes. We are in the middle of the sentence, really. The Rebbe is in the middle of talking here. But he's showing the two extremes, that on one hand, we are so intimately dependent. In every iota, every little breath, every little moment, we're so totally, absolutely dependent because there's no other cause, no other source, no other reason for our existence. That means that we are totally, totally dependent. On the other hand, ein aroch klal. We are completely insignificant at all. There's no relation whatsoever, no comparability. Anyhow, yes. I'm sorry, Sterner.
I'm saying that these 2 points that you are saying, it's all one. We are totally dependent and we're ein aroch. because by coming to the realizations that we are so insignificant, that's how we reach the highest level of becoming of this oneness, because we are one with him. It's like I saw it in the Sikha. It was very geschmack to me that the Rebbe brings down and he says the posuk of Shlomo HaMelech. We say to Hashem, I don't know if it's in Shir Hashirim, or we say to Hashem, you are our Father, and you are Ato Avinu v'anu boneinu. And then we say, you are our shepherd, Roye v'anachnu tzoncha, and we're your sheep. So the Rebbe is asking a question. What greater relationship between a father and his children, or a relationship between a shepherd and his sheep? Okay, he loves the sheep, but it's not Teves Makim, it's sheep for him. It's a possession. A son, the Chabib was the love of a son. But actually, the Rebbe says, there's a higher relationship in the son. The level of the ben is after Ishtalshalus. In this world, you are one with Hashem, but you're Teves Makom, because He already made you a Metzius. I mean, you feel yourself separate from Him. But on the higher level, above Ishtalshalus, you are like a son. You're great, and you are because you are not. You're beetle. You're one with Him. But the son is Teves Makom? No, but that's exactly where we come from. We are. That's why it's there. It's always there. It's no chassan, no poil. It's everything. It's the oneness with Hashem above everything.
Thank you, Shana. Yes.